All right. Well, for those of you who might not be familiar, this is SEO for Bloggers, our monthly webinar. Hello. And today marks our 37th episode.
Wow.
Yay. It's also, I just turned 37, so I feel really, on trend. It just happened. I know we're all really excited to be here at the summit. So it's been such a pleasure to meet some of the faces that I recognize and some new ones. But yeah, we've got our experts here. Arson and Casey, you were just watching, and Andrew from NerdPress. And yeah, you know, I'm Melissa Rice, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. I'm the host. But we have got a lot of stuff locked in. We're going to be talking about all sorts of SEO topics right now, and really taking out this, final episode here and on our final day with a bang. And a lot of it depends, because if you know, you know. Um, and just a huge thank you for everyone joining us here and at home, because we've got our Zoom attendees too. Hello, everybody. And yeah, we're going to start by addressing some burning questions about the latest Google update. And then we'll segue into some other SEO questions and reserve the end of this episode for live Q&A from our audience here and a couple questions from our virtual attendees. Dan in the back will be helping out with that. Hi, Dan. So we're going to play a favorite game of ours. What's it called, guys?
It depends.
It depends. So if you hear any of the panelists say that today, raise your hand and we'll give you some cool merch. Okay? All right, let's get this started. Casey, first question. What transpired during Google's helpful content update, and what are the reasons behind the apparent emphasis on platforms like Reddit and Quora?
Can you repeat the question?
I think you know the question. I think you've heard the question too much.
The helpful content update. It was a dark and stormy day. I remember well. I was taking the kids to school, and the bus started out of nowhere. Boom! Hit my site straight on. Terrible. Terrible.
Was this also in the snow?
Anyway, so with the helpful content update, in Google's own words, their goal is to elevate underserved results in the search results that have been languishing apparently below many of your sites in the room, unfortunately. The whole point of the helpful content update was to elevate what they call hidden gems. And here's the thing, the hidden gems component hasn't rolled out yet. What has been happening with the last couple of helpful content updates is Google is going through and evaluating sites based on an undiagnosed set of criteria. I just had an article that you guys have linked to that we've seen here. I analyzed about 400 plus sites. Frankly, they were all over the place, but a lot of the issues that we're finding, myself, Marie Haynes, Glenn Gabe, and others, they come down into a very small selection of criteria. The first one is the fact that there seem to be a lot of UX-based issues. UX-based issues can be anything like an inability to pass core web vitals, which is part of the page experience algorithm. It could be excessive interstitials. It could be excessive ads. It could be the wrong kind of ads. For example, we saw a lot of sites who made it hard to find content on the page. They either, had their jump buttons taken over by their ad companies, jumping them to an ad. They closed their table of contents, making it hard to find the signposts that they were using to navigate the post. They were running more than the average density of ads, which is funny because what is the average density of ads? Well, we know that it's probably not 28% and 30 because a lot of sites that were running that got hit, but we don't know necessarily what an optimal approach is from that regard. So it's something that we're working through. And again, the whole point of this change by Google was to try to elevate a better experience to users. And I think the jury is out as to whether or not they really succeeded at doing that.
Awesome. Thank you. Arson, for you, what's the best course of action for those what were hit by the helpful content update?
I don't know. Do nothing.
What?
Be more helpful.
Oh my God.
that was very helpful. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't know. Casey, what's the procedure?
Donate to charity. What we've tried to do is, again, and we're not trying to be glib about it, we know that this is a serious situation. We really have to make an honest inventory of our sites. If I've provided a recipe that meets the needs of my users, it shouldn't have a lot of fluff. It should not have a lot of superfluous information. It should be easy for us to discern what the intent behind the recipe is. I don't need 4 photos of the finished dish. I don't need to provide a list of equipment that we all know that the average kitchen already has. Maybe I'm only going to put equipment in my posts if we know that the average kitchen doesn't have it, like an ice cream machine. You guys all have ice cream machines. I'm very upset about that, by the way. We really want to make sure that we're focusing on bottom line usability for the blogger in everything that we do. We had a lot of complaints about why did Google elevate Reddit and Quora threads to the top of the search results? Because they were able to go there and find what they were looking for very quickly. And Google realized that that was a behavior that they were seeing over and over again, and now you're going to see a lot more of that in the search results. So we really have to start putting ourselves in the footsteps, in the shoes of our users, and asking ourselves, do I really have the most useful beef Wellington recipe on the planet? Or do I need to take out this 200 words on why Lord Wellington died of doubt?
It's cutting down. It's just like it's following those best practices that we've been talking for the last 37 episodes. It's just like it's stop over optimizing. Just like be useful with your content. Don't chase the rankings. If you're like stuffing keywords, it's just like there's all kinds of trigger, right? There's a bunch of triggers for helpful content.
I mean, the article that we did that I went into goes into it in detail, but we're seeing a lot of cross niche content where people are writing this content because a tool is telling them to write this content and because they think they can rank for it. Now I know that's strange, but this is literally Google saying, stop writing content you want us to rank you for. Write content for your users and we'll rank it accordingly. And that's hard for a lot of content creators to accept because they want to write what they want to write.
Andrew, what do you think? Are there any other key focus areas?
I think one thing that we haven't been talking about as much is that the helpful content update is a site-wide signal. And so right before this, I just searched Google for their developer docs to see what they say. It's always good to go to the source, and Google publishes all this stuff. Like they actually tell us what they're trying to do. So I want to read 2 paragraphs from it. Don't worry, it won't be long. The system generates a site-wide signal that we consider among many other signals for use in Google search, which includes Discover. The system automatically identifies content that seems to have little value, low added value, or is otherwise not particularly helpful to people. Any content, not just unhelpful content, on sites determined to have relatively high amounts of unhelpful content overall is less likely to perform well in search. Let me say that again because it's a mouthful. Any content, not just unhelpful content, on sites determined to have a relatively high amount of unhelpful content overall is less likely to perform well in search, assuming there is other content elsewhere on the web that's better to display, which in this room there probably will be, right? Because it's a pretty competitive niche. So your unhelpful content is hurting your helpful content, is what they're saying, right? Because it's site-wide. So I think Dan was going to post a link to this in the chat for you, or you could just search Google for developers helpful content update. This was published also, or last updated September 14th, so this is fresh. Right. So you need to be looking at your site holistically as a whole, and then, Casey's been pushing this for a long time, like tend to the weeds in your garden, right? Get rid of all the unhelpful content. It's not just like, oh, this post that dropped, it might still be helpful, but if your unhelpful content over here isn't helping, then it's dragging everything down. So that's the thing to watch for.
The helpful content update really does operate like basically every other update that Google has that's core related, which is that it grades a site on an individual page level, but it penalizes at the host level site-wide. So like I said, use the content garden thing. Just like we can't let weeds take over our garden. If we don't pull them out, they're going to kill all our flowers. It's the same thing with the content garden that is your site. We really want to go in and police that as much as possible.
And Louisa covered this in her module about pruning content. And it's about finding that balance, right? Because like if majority of your content on your site is just like not there, it's not helpful, it's not doing much for you, it's going to weigh everything in. It's just like that balancing act, right? So you got to be careful about that. Oh, more into the mic. Okay.
I know there will be some questions. Which we'll get the mic around at the end for that. But we're going to segue into some other SEO questions that we received from our Zoom registrants. Okay, so Casey, holidays are around the corner. Are you ready?
Candy corn?
How can publishers stand out during the holidays with their content?
Well, first of all, I'm personally behind the I'm trying to mount a campaign to make Candy Corn Day a national holiday. So there is a petition in the lounge. I'd like all of you to sign before you leave. Thank you. But yes, for holiday optimization, our goal first and foremost is to find and do a content inventory of what performed well last holiday season. What can we find previously that we now know we can update based upon all the awesome nuggets you've learned this year and specifically the last couple of days here? What can we do to refeature that content specifically now and going forward? I would, as I tell bloggers all the time, especially the ones that we've all visited with today here, I would literally not even consider publishing a ton of new content, if any content, between now and the end of the year, because I know you have plenty of content that if you do not make time to get to it now, you have to wait an entire another year for its seasonal relevancy to come around. So why do that to yourself? Just go ahead and we know what worked well last year. Let's revisit that, make sure it's expanded, make sure it's, maybe it doesn't need to be expanded. Maybe it needs to be reduced down based upon what you've learned and really lean into seasonality as much as possible.
Okay. Andrew, what is one of the biggest technical mistakes bloggers commonly make, and how should they fix the issue?
Okay, so I'll admit I got this question in advance, and I was sitting in the back of the room thinking, what is the biggest thing? And everything I could think of, I'm like, okay, well, that's going to be like 2 people in the room, and this other thing is going to be 2 people in the room. So like, there is no one thing that one size fits all. I will say, especially if you're starting out, not having good hosting is a big one. Not having a good theme is another big one. But those are the 2 like big hurdles that we see. But I have another technical issue that's not directly SEO that I'm seeing over and over and over again with a lot of people, and that is about security. Use strong passwords, please.
Password 123, not okay?
And it's not. Butterfly star exclamation mark is not a good password.
Oh, no.
So no,
I told you that in confidence.
Quick, head over to Wells Fargo. So because of what we do at NerdPress, we see a lot of our clients' passwords. They are sent to us securely. That's another tip. Don't email passwords because email is not secure. Generally, you should not share passwords. But we see them, and I'm like, oh man, that's the name of your site plus the year of your kid's birthday. So use strong passwords. That should be like 14 random characters, and don't reuse passwords across other sites. This is very important, especially as phishing attacks are increasing. You're probably getting lots of spam on Facebook trying to get you to click a link. And if you reveal your password, if you are tricked into giving away your password on one site, if that password is used elsewhere, you can get into a lot of trouble. And the other thing I want to say is use 2-factor authentication and make sure you lock down your email address, because if somebody can hack your email, they can reset your password everywhere else. And that would be an epic disaster. And if they take over your site, that's going to be really bad for your SEO.
Quick question. Do you suggest updating it like every so often, changing?
I don't care about that recommendation.
Okay.
As long as your password is very strong and unique, 14 random characters, I don't see a benefit to changing it. Okay. I do recommend using a password manager to help you keep track of this. 1Password or
Vinovich 01 is still good.
What's your password?
What?
What's your password?
Password. With a 0 instead
Password
of an O.
123.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Like using a 0 instead of an O, or like a 1 instead of an L.
You're a hacker.
Yeah, I think the hackers know that trick. So.
I think it depends on a lot of things.
What?
Here, Leslie. Oh, Maddie.
Maddie's
Not
on
Leslie.
it.
Never mind.
Right here. Thanks, Maddie.
Raise your hand. Raise your hand.
Yay.
All right.
Nice. Very good. I didn't
I
catch
forget-
it, so thank
yeah,
you. Arsen, okay, can you explain the concept of content clustering and its role in SEO and content organization?
Right. So I went over this.
Right.
I went over this.
We'll recap it.
It's basically creating content that supports a bigger, broader topic. So let's say soup. Recipes is your cluster, it's your category, it's your pillar. And then under it, you have potato soup, chicken soup. So you just basically filling that silo with content that supports that bigger, broader topic. And the more of that you do, and it makes sense, and it's good quality, Google will over time determine that, hey, you're an expert on this, or you have a lot of content, a lot of assets on this particular topic. And that just has a really interesting byproduct because of everything that happens along with that. The internal linking that comes from the breadcrumbs, if you're properly structured, making their way down, making their way up, just reinforcing that topical focus. Over time, you'll notice that it's easier for you to rank for the topic of soup because you have a topical depth now on your site. So that's what it is. It's not a very difficult concept. You can create clusters with roundup posts. You can create clusters with just regular page. It doesn't have to be your category page. It's just that's what category pages kind of are already, right? They're the filler pages for your silo of content. So if you start treating them that way, they will start working for you that way.
Excellent. And I think you might have covered this a little bit too, but Casey, what's the best way to get picked up by Google Discover?
Send them candy corn.
Shower them with gifts.
The problem with Google Discover is that their own documentation is very sparse. There's literally 2 requirements to get into Google Discover. Number 1, you have to have high quality, compelling images. Number 2, those images need to be a minimum of 1200 pixels max width. Means that anything smaller than that is not necessarily given priority. Well, I know most of you in the room have already done both of those 2 things, and you still don't generate Discover traffic. So there is no, unfortunately, secret sauce or anything else you can really do other than kind of hope that one of your recipes goes viral, or that there's a topical match with one of your web stories, or something takes off. That is literally, it's no rhyme or reason, but it is pretty hilarious how some sites can do 30 to 50,000 sessions a month on web stories, and other sites are lucky to break 1,000 or 1,300 with dozens of web stories. So it's no rhyme or reason there, unfortunately.
Okay, Andrew, what does the future of blogging look like with AI?
With AI, it depends.
Oh, really? Okay.
You already got a sweater. You already got a sweater.
Oh, okay.
Yes, right there. Yeah, her. I saw her. I'm calling it, okay? I'm the host.
Yeah, you're in charge here. We all know that.
Maddie, where are you?
Raise your hand. Raise your hand.
Yeah.
We got plenty of stuff, you guys.
So what does the future of blogging look like with AI, artificial
Yeah.
intelligence? Okay, so if you asked me that question back in March,
Right.
I would have run screaming from the stage. I think we all would have thrown our laptops and flipped the tables over and freaked out.
Everyone's scared.
Everybody was freaking out because AI was going to take over everything. It was going to replace all of us. ChatGPT had just come out last November, right? And Google Bard, and we're getting AI in the search results, so people aren't going to click through. Was the mad panic? I'm not worrying about that anymore, for a couple of reasons. One is if we stop creating new content, the AI has nothing to ingest and work from, because AI is not artificial general intelligence yet. It doesn't create, it predicts based on what all the inputs that have been put into it. So we have to keep giving it input ultimately for it to continue producing output. So I think there's an incentive to, in the world, to keep creating good human-based content. So that's one of the things. The other is, I don't think there's an incentive for Google to keep people just on the search results page. I think they want to send people over to sites because Google has their hands in advertising. That's how they make their money. So when ads are served on your site, Google's getting a piece of that. So it's not in their best interest to prevent traffic going to your site. So I think the economic interests are such that it's not going to be a problem. For me, I use ChatGPT all the time as a writing partner, as a writing tool. I love it. If you've ever received a fun email from NerdPress that has lots of great in sync puns, ChatGPT probably helped.
It's so good at puns.
It's really good at combining words into cool things. So so personally, I've used it to enjoy writing again, particularly when I don't want to send an email blast out and I have to. And if you're stuck on a blog post where you're like, okay, I feel like I'm just stuck on how to write this paragraph. Take what you've got, put it in ChatGPT, and say, hey, please rewrite this to simplify or add this bit of information. And you probably don't want to take what it spits back out, but it's a really good sounding board. And sometimes I'll pull a sentence out, or I'm like, oh, that phrase is good, and it helps get me unstuck. So I think people are seeing that AI is really just a tool for us to use to continue to create.
We had an episode on this with Brett Tacky, right?
Yeah,
And he made a great analogy where he said it's like the guy in the conference room who just comes up with a crazy idea, but everybody uses that idea to kind of riff off of. And I love that analogy because it really is. It, like you said, you just bounce it back to you and it kind of gets your creative juices flowing. Everything needs a human touch.
Yeah, one trick, if you're trying to write headlines, you can say write 20 headlines using this keyword phrase and see what it gives you, and most of them will be crap. Right? So you have to then be the judge and the filter, but headline number 17, you might go, oh, that's perfect. And then you just grab it, right?
Yeah. like that.
I would say, I would just interject and just make sure that you are polite. Remember, sir, you say please and thank you and use ChatGPT, just in case. Just in case, okay?
Definitely. Okay, Arsen, are sharing backlinks with a group frowned upon? What are best practices, if any?
Yeah, good question. So we had Anne on yesterday, and it's fine as long as it's not your only type of link building you're doing. So you want to create diversity within your footprint, because that's what a healthy natural footprint looks like, right? It's not the same link over and over and over. A lot of the back in the day when we try to game the system, we used to look at like what happens naturally, like how are links built over time for bigger sites and what happens. And it's all kinds of links. You have good quality links, you have crappy links. It's just like it's a mess. There's no rhyme or reason to it. And if you are going to try to do something like that, you want to make sure that if you're already building links, you're not just earning them. You want to make sure that you're diversifying. You don't want to do the same thing. So it's good. It will work until it doesn't. But the good news is that unless you're doing something really crappy, Google just is going to ignore it. Yeah.
Okay. Casey, what's the best approach for demonstrating EEAT as a brand new or seasoned food blogger? Suggestions, tips?
As a brand new food blogger, well, it's funny because EEAT in many cases is all about how others perceive you. I am not up here because I've told myself that I'm an SEO expert. We're up here because the people have told us we're SEO experts. And so it's very similar when you are an author to a blog. We need to seek out cheerleaders whenever possible to reinforce our existing expertise. If they tell us by linking to us and saying things that we're good at what we do, that is a replicating signal that Google can pick up and run with. So as a new food blogger trying to establish some authority, I would really spend a lot of time filling out that About Me page. Really be your biggest cheerleader initially. What is it that separates you apart from anyone else? Why are you just so incredible that people should stop and work with you as a brand or visit your content? And I would really network initially. Try to find, join a mastermind. Find a couple cheerleaders of your own who will link back to you regularly or who will be fans of yours and tell others that, hey, if I'm looking for a gluten-free recipe, this is one of my first stops. Or if I'm looking for someone who has firsthand knowledge on this topic, this is one of the first places I'm going to go. And that is going to lead to other things on your site. Hopefully, eventually it'll lead to press mentions, brand links, other things. But a lot of it is just you being the loudest person in the room initially and then seeing where it takes you.
Yeah, I'm going to quickly chime in on this. So 100%, if you're just starting out, focus on those like external activities. I mean, obviously do still work on your website and do all the stuff that you need to do, but like go out there, get interviewed, volunteer, podcasts, all of that. Create like a cookbook. Somebody earlier was talking about this. Create a cookbook. Just like be out there, like do a cooking class for elementary school kids, whatever it is. Get some coverage.
Aww, so sweet.
Oh, you want a hug?
You're allowed back on the playgrounds?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and just to add to that,
You can clearly see the difference between the two, right?
Show of hands, how many of you have contacted your local ABC, NBC, CBS affiliates and pitched a cooking segment?
Yumna?
That's right.
Nice.
There you go. I'm going to tell you, in San Diego, they can't find people to fill the slots. They literally, I see requests for it all the time. So
they're hungry for it.
They're
local channels. Yeah, easy peasy.
Impressive. Who's your writer?
But
I'm sorry.
But yeah, definitely do that, guys. Reach out to the radio stations as well. Reach out to the affiliates. Volunteer your time.
You already got a sweater. In the back.
All right, Marissa.
Maddie.
I just want to add some basic stuff that I talk to a lot of publishers who are like, I hate writing about myself, and they don't want to like put it out there on the about page, but get a good picture of yourself, of you looking at the camera and smiling. I cannot tell you how much of a difference that makes, because when somebody comes to your website, they want to know who they're reading, right? And so you need to demonstrate through the things on your website, first and foremost, that you are an expert and you have experience and they should trust you, right? And you're an authority. So how can you demonstrate that? Use your full name, use a good picture. If you put time into a good profile picture of you in the kitchen, it shows that you've been doing this, right? If it's just like this random picture of you at a bar with your friends, because you like how you're smiling in that picture, it doesn't convey the same kind of expertise, right? Unless, of course, you're writing about cocktails. So if you're really uncomfortable writing about yourself, then my suggestion would be make a list of things that are your accomplishments and feed it to ChatGPT and say, hey, please write my about page based on this.
Or have your best friend write it and then just change it to first person.
Yeah.
Sorry, it doesn't even have to be related to food.
Right.
Right. It's we have a client. I show her page. London, Brazil, was it?
Evolving table.
Evolving table. Check out her about page. Dentist.
She's a gold star
And
standard.
has like a MBA. It's a food blog. I show her about page to everyone. It's just so nicely organized. She's linking out to places where she's been cited. She's linking out about her culinary journey, where she studied, all the other places where she publishes stuff. It's just like it's there. It's connecting the dots for Google. It's those entities that we want to connect, right? I am this person. Here's a link to a place that I've been verified, like LinkedIn, right? I write about food. Here is my column, whatever, food.com, right? Connect those dots for Google, and the more of that you do, the bigger the EEAT signals will be.
Absolutely. Sorry, you paused and I was going to jump in. So now you paused. One other little technical thing. At the top of your post, right below the post title, it has your byline, right? Don't use the name of your site. Like my site, my food blog is Eating Rules. I don't want it to say by Eating Rules. I want it to say by Andrew Wilder, and then that should link to my about page.
Always.
So, always.
And a lot of times you'd be like, oh, well, it's in my recipe card, but you don't have a recipe card on all of your posts. Don't rely on that.
The recipe card and the recipe post are separate entities to Google. So if that's news to anyone, just understand different algorithms affect both. So we definitely want both of those linked individually to the person whenever possible.
Yeah, and if it's in your sidebar, it doesn't matter also. It needs to be that authorship, that byline. Yeah, absolutely, you can, as long as it matches up in your about page.
What did she ask though? Because they can't
the
hear
credentials. She's asking if you put your credentials, like if I'm an MD, right? Yeah, absolutely. As long as it matches up with your about. Yeah.
As long as you actually are an doctor.
Yeah.
No lying. All right, well, we've got enough time now to get the mic through the audience. Chandas?
Yeah.
Anybody's got a question, just raise your hand in the back.
I see Marta. Marta's ready to troll us.
Question for those of us who may write recipes that are ethnic from different countries. I'm hearing a lot about titles and keyword searches. What's the best practice? Should we write, and I know what part of what you're going to answer is, what is your user looking for? However, for those people that didn't grow up in a certain culture but are looking to reconnect with their culture from their ancestors, they may be looking for the recipe in English. The native people may be looking for the recipe in their native language. What is the best practice? Should we put both names of the recipes in the title or just one?
I got it. The one, so use, because we've had these cases. So definitely don't put both in the title, right? But use the one that you're trying to target the most. So like I would assume English, because if you still want that search engine traffic, but then also have about this recipe at one of the first sections on the page, and give a quick explanation, because I'm almost 80% sure that majority of your recipes do need an explanation at the top to clear confusion.
Aren't questions a great
Ditto.
time? That depends.
Anybody else have a question?
Questions are a great time for it depends, right?
Yes.
It depends.
Ooh, I think it was, yeah. green jacket. Yeah, I think Arson had like a hard fix on his mic.
Right here.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have two because I'm a microphone hog. First, if you were to put ads on your site, I know you said there isn't a like a density that we should be going for, but what would you do?
He doesn't have a website.
I would look, initially, if I wasn't affected by the update, I wouldn't do anything.
Even if it's high?
Yeah. You weren't affected by the update, I would move on. Now, the thing to understand, here, hold this. Thank you very much, sir.
Oh my gosh.
The thing to understand is it's never one factor with these updates. When we're surveying 400 plus sites, there are literally hundreds, if not thousands of factors that go into determining this helpful content update. If you weren't affected by the update and you've looked through over your site and you're realizing, well, you know, my ads are a little high, but that seems to be the only thing I can find. If the ads look good to you and you haven't got any complaints, you're probably okay. But if someone visits your site and I hope all of you are checking your ads regularly, because I can't tell you how many times I've done this live with the call and they've been horrified. So just understand what you have on your site at any point in time. If it looks heavy to you, then imagine how heavy it's going to look to anyone else. 22% is pretty good. 26%, probably a little better. 28%, I would not do that. 30%, I can't believe you got away with it. So that's just something to be aware of. We really, I know that we want to take advantage, and we've always recommended that we raise our density during Q4, but considering the huge amount of people that were hit by this, maybe we need to pull back on that.
I like to do on consults. I like to do like let's play this game called count the ads and just start from the top and just like
Such a classic game.
On an actual phone.
yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Because your users are on their phones.
Yeah.
You're on your laptop, right? So don't forget to pick up your phone. Sorry.
No, but you just like you count and you like as you just
stats you saw this week?
nothing. I haven't looked. But like if you're scrolling and like you have an ad every paragraph, there's a space between paragraphs and you have an ad and that's too much.
Yeah, it's frustrating when you're
It's
on your
like-
phone.
yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
I can't even find the jump to recipe button sometimes, and I'll just forfeit where I'm at to just go somewhere else.
You're pogo sticking. When that happens, you're showing signals that hey, this is not good content.
So I know Casey's been mentioning like percentages. It doesn't matter if it's 28 or 30. Like that's not the guideline. It's can you use your site on your phone? Can you know if you have to go cook the recipe, can somebody do it, or is there a video popping up over the ingredients? Right? It's very frustrating. So it all comes back to user experience. And you had two questions though.
Yeah, my second one was, are web stories still worth it?
It depends. I wasn't looking. Did you catch it? Okay.
Have you had success with web stories?
So we tried it for a little bit and we had some success, but then it just dies off. So it
How
feels
many
like it's
people have
not
the
worth
same
it.
story?
Yeah, that's
Do you know why that happened?
Because Google's trying to save AMP.
There's 500% more web stories now than there was 18 months ago. And there's only so much space in the carousel. So unless it's really freaking awesome, it's going to be very hard to get those stories in. The most successful sites that I'm seeing with web stories were previously 1 out of every 3 web stories were drawing traffic and getting the carousels. Now I'm seeing 1 out of every 10. And imagine you've been doing that regularly and now you've accumulated 300, 400, 500. The record, by the way, is 838 web stories that I saw on a site the other day. That's a lot of empty pages on a site doing absolutely nothing. So just, you know, go through them. I think I would never send someone to a web story on a site. So make sure that you're not linking to them. But getting them to your site, that's a completely different thing. And if you know that you can put together a nice holiday themed web story that maybe you could retask as a TikTok or something else. How does that ticky-tacky thing work? I don't know.
ooh,
Never heard of it.
ticky
And I would do that.
A quick show of hands, how many of you as an end user enjoy looking at and using web stories? Not a single hand in the room. Web stories suck, right? I'll go on record, I hate them. So that's right. So that's my answer.
Okay, so mine's on the authors. I recently had a site audit and he put my picture with the bio underneath every blog post, but I also have it in the sidebar.
You
It's,
don't need it. You don't need a bio with a. You don't need a byline. You
Or
don't
the-
need a byline with a photo under every post, as long as it's like there and it's just like written by, and it
So I
links to
can-
your. Yeah.
remove the one on the bottom.
It's okay, you just don't need it. So,
Is it hurting you? No.
Okay,
um,
it's just obnoxious because I'm on there more than I need to be.
yeah, I mean, as long as it's not like a 1200 pixel image that's this tiny, you know, and slowing things down. But
Funny you should bring that up.
Why?
That's an issue that she has.
oh, okay, so
Yeah, right, but we won't go there. Also, National Candy Corn Day is October 30th, in case you're wondering. So
Oh, snap.
it's already in there.
It depends. Yeah, I'm just giving out shirts.
Thank you, Maddie.
I have a follow-up web story question. So I have almost 300 web stories, and now I'm wondering, should I delete old web stories? Do they ever resurface randomly? We do sometimes republish old web stories that did well with like a different title, which sometimes works.
Different URL.
Yeah, different URL and different title, and basically everything else the same. And that seems to work sometimes. But yeah, should I be deleting old ones, or do they ever come back randomly?
I would prune them. Yes. I would go into your Search Console and do a 6-month window and count how many web stories actually had a click. And then anyone that didn't have a click in that 6 months, you probably are good deleting right away and not
Okay.
worrying about. But focus on the seasonal ones first. If you think that you can republish them with a different URL, see if they can re-feature, try it one more time, and then delete them after that.
And if we're republishing an old web story, should we delete the original web story? Or right now we haven't been. We've just been republishing them and then leaving the old one.
Oh yeah, I would either just we can redirect the web stories. Yeah,
so you
redirect the
are-
web story through Yoast or just delete the old one.
Thanks.
Hi. Do you recommend blocking Chat GPT, Bot, Bard, or et cetera from crawling sites? Why? And if yes, how?
It really depends on you. Personally, I don't recommend it. I posted that in our Facebook group. So I'm on record saying that I don't think it's a great idea to block it because this is the way of the future. And like I was talking about the inputs into the system, right? This is coming, it is happening. And so we need to work within this framework, whatever that means. And it's evolving. And if we're here in a year, it's going to be a very different conversation, right? Because they're moving so fast. So, but I understand that a lot of people don't want this being your original content being used as training data, and the future is uncertain. So it really is a call that you as the publisher and the author have to make. If you want to block it, it depends on which bot, but you basically just need to add you need to know how to add a line of code in your robots.txt file to find the bot and say you're not allowed to crawl it. And the legitimate AI tools are going to respect that. Google just announced a new bot name. It's Google Extended, I think. Google-extended. So you basically edit your robots.txt file and say, hey, Google Extended, you're not allowed to crawl my site. But that they created that bot name so that you're not blocking the regular Google bot for regular search, because you don't want to block all of Google, right? That would be disaster. So
We're hoping you'll take this back to the mothership.
Who
But
do you
like
keep pointing at?
the
Oh,
spy from Google.
I'm like, who is it?
She hates me. It's okay.
Hey,
Um,
that's okay. You can work with me. It's fine.
She's like,
It's all
every
good.
time we say something, she starts. So we're hoping that, like, we're seeing kind of already that there's citations to where the sources are coming from, where there's like they're putting in links to relevant content. So especially for recipes, I think I've seen a few screenshots. I still haven't been approved for it, but we're hoping that they're going to refine this enough to where they're not going to be just stealing your content and repackaging it. and you're going to get some credit and get some clicks because the Google does depend on you guys for revenue and all of that. So Google depends.
Depends. Yeah.
Google, it depends.
Google.
I think we gotta give it to her because you just
Yeah,
called her
you
out
gotta
too much.
Give it to the Google spy.
I would interject one thing really quickly about SGE. The current beta ends in December. So you're seeing everything going on right now. They're collecting all the data. That's going to end mid-December. And then after that, they'll be determining what and where they're going to roll this out. Because right now it's only 5%, 7%. Okay, just 7%. We'll go
7% sounds good.
It's a pretty low penetration rate right now. So it'll be ramped up and rolled out fully after mid-December. But who knows what it's going to look like. I was in the beta very early. Arson got in a little after. We've been able to submit feedback. So no, goodness. But we'll see. We'll see what we see. I wouldn't worry too much.
Okay, well, we want to reserve a couple questions for our virtual attendees. So Dan, are you mic'd? Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
So I'm curious if you have an opinion on this, but I'm curious, like if Google's starting to rank Reddit higher in the SERPs, is there a way to use that as an advantage, like to be on Reddit, putting in these recipes and linking back to your site? Arson, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I think it's the helicopter strategy. Is that what it was?
We'll go with that.
Okay. It's like either omnipresent or helicopters. So they called it something, but basically, yeah, these are the tactics. So like sometimes you'll Google like I don't know, like best bikes for kids, and then you'll have like a New York Times article, and then you're like, okay, I gotta get on this list, right? So you'll start hitting up that person that wrote that article, bribe them, lie to them, whatever, just to get in that list. Yeah. Those are all strategies. They're traffic driving strategies. It's not SEO. It's marketing. But yeah, absolutely. If you can get on Reddit and you can get it to rank. I mean, we used to do this with Medium all the time, like because we knew Medium would rank, and I would just publish a post and then link to my client. You know?
Do you recommend like something in Reddit, like having a secret Reddit username where you're like posting the whole?
Now you just want all the secrets. Oh.
Well, let's show of hands. How many people in the audience actually have a Reddit account? Okay, so you know how Reddit works, which is they can sniff and, be ungenuine a mile away. So Reddit's a very hard community I wouldn't use the word exploit, but certainly a hard community to optimize for. So for example, you would have no chance, especially if you don't have an earned account. You just have to build up a rapport. You basically have to share a ton of stuff before you even get a chance to have one of your posts sticks. And then you have to determine what is the content being shared recipe related and emulate that accordingly and then see what you can do. But that can be done, but it's a very slow process. And last I checked, all the Reddit links are not, they're not all follow.
That was going to be my bad.
Yeah.
It's only traffic. It's only for traffic. There's no SEO. Yeah. It's traffic hacking.
Were you implying that you have to have reputation as a Reddit user to be able to?
No comment.
Oh, okay. Sheesh. Okay, Dan, are you ready for us now? Have we got a couple questions?
Say it depends. Oh, right there. She got it.
Let me try this one. Yes. Okay. So we have one question from Joe. I have old posts with internal links pointing to 301 redirects. Is it important to point these to the correct URL?
Yes.
We call those internal permalink redirects. And it's one of the easiest gains you can do for technical SEO.
I just want to say it does not depend.
Okay, we've got another from Andrea. Do you recommend deleting, we kind of touched on it already, but do you recommend deleting web stories after they have had their moment?
Kind of answered that already.
Yes.
So they were getting traffic, but now the traffic is very low.
Yes. Burn them down. Let it burn.
Andrew said burn them down for those who didn't hear on Zoom.
That's it? Only 2 questions? There's like 4 people there?
It's
But
okay.
there
We've
There
got
were a
3
few
minutes.
more on here, though. I think the audience still had a few
Okay,
more.
you guys are here.
Anybody else? Any lingering questions?
Come on, 3 minutes.
How do you feel about using AI generated images if you want to fill something like 10 oils to use in cooking, for example? Like, should I go ahead and buy 10 oils and take the photo, or can I generate it and mention that it's an AI generated image? Because they're coming out really good and there's some amazing tools out there. So I'm tempted, but I'm also scared.
I say go for it. I think it's important, though, to be honest with your readers and say, hey, I generated this with Midjourney or Open, a DALL-E 2. I saw another publisher recently. She had an ingredient shot and she forgot to put one of the ingredients in it. And she had it all set up. She broke it all down. She used AI to add the ingredient back in. How slick is that? Right? But do be honest with your audience.
Very cool. Well, we've got 2 minutes left, but we are actually having another webinar episode this month on the 18th. For those of you who are not registered, you can visit our website, tophatrank.com. We have a resource page where you can sign up or follow us on social, Instagram at tophatrank. And yeah, that way you can get all the newsletters when we've got our episodes coming. We also post recaps about a week out after with all of the things that are mentioned by the panelists, the resources, articles, you name it. So yeah, keep following us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have one of the toddlers and drunk adult shirts with them? Can you pull that out? If anyone has one of those with them? Yeah, let's stand up. We'll model those. We still have several of these left. If anyone wants one, come see me in the lounge. Okay, thank you.
Thank you again to our panel. Well, we're